Hey guys, welcome to TGS with me, Johnny. We've got a couple of guns here in the Holts room, made or at least patented by Alex Henry, probably the best renowned Great British gunmaker of the last century. Let's have a look. So the year is 1865, and Alex Henry himself comes up with this, the Alex Henry falling block, a very simple design whereby you cock the hammer back, push the latch on the bottom, push it down, and as you push back, the cartridge extracts. Fantastic. More importantly, this is then attached to the 1860 patent 7-groove Henry rifling. Probably the most important, or certainly the most important of Alex Henry's designs, in that it was then taken into the Martini Henry later on, as we'll go into, actually creating a very accurate and very reliable rifling system. What happened is that the government actually put out a contract, a competition if you will, for somebody to come up with something to replace the Snyder action that they'd been using up until that point. And Alex Henry put forward something that looked extremely similar to this. A falling block, 577 450 shot rifle, you know, a very good, reliable and basic gun, and to the fact that it won the competition hands down, one for the rifling, one for the action, and won everything. However, he did not win the government contract, he just won the 600 quid, which at the time was quite worth winning, to be fair, and the government actually decided to go with von Martini's Martini action. However, they liked Henry's rifling so much that they took on that, so we've got the Henry Martini, Henry barrel Martini action. However, not all was lost, because the action was still absolutely fantastic and made its way into a variety of sporting guns and military rifles, to the point that actually the Australian military decided to opt for this, I believe in 1971, and you have on the back here New South Wales N60. So we're going to start with this, the military version, the 1871 military version, before we go into slightly more refined sporting edition. As already stated, this gun is in a 577 450. At the back you have a plain steel butt plate with 2 screws. You have a walnut stock in 2 parts. You have the stock and the forestock. New South Wales with N60, presumably that is a regimental mark. On the side here you have GJ cut into it, and I've seen a couple of these with initials cut into the back, so one would healthfully assume that this would actually be the guy who was issued this gun, or at least a subsequent owner. However, if multiple guns have it, it seems logical that the owner of the gun, in military terms, would have stamped his name into it at some point. You have a very plain tang, a very plain push button lever there, you have a very plain hammer. It is not a very well adorned gun by any standards, but that's because it is what it is. On the side here we have WRA and A Co. That stands for Wesley Richards Arms and Ammunition Company, 1871. This is because at the time Wesley Richards wasn't the Wesley Richards we kind of came to know and love a little bit later in their career, but they were a armaments manufacturer, an ammunition manufacturer more to the point. And you have here WRA, A and C, because they made them for Alex Henry, given that he was not an owner of a large production factory. And on the other side here, you'll have Henry's patent, and on the lock plate, Alex Henry. And again, on top here you have Henry's patent rifling. All in all, this gun is not in original condition. It has been polished up at some point. Someone's put cold blue on there. You've got that sort of telltale, miserable brown finish. Sliding sight up to 1,000 extremely optimistic yards. Full length forestock, grip cap, rod, gigantic hole in the bottom there where you can just about see your 7 rifled grooves. There's a sling swivel on the front, a bayonet lug, and a mid-band there. All in all, a really utilitarian piece of machinery. And probably better than the Martini Henry, dare I say, even though we are less emotionally attached to it. But there you have it. Anyway, more importantly than this was this, the sporting rifles that came of that action later on. This is a 450 Black Powder Express. This was made by Alex Henry on the rib here. Alex Henry, 12 South St Andrew Street, Edinburgh. Patent numbers 1471 and 367. This is a little bit more ornate. Features a very elegant raised cheek piece and an absolutely beautiful bit of wood. Absolutely beautiful bit of wood. This gun, being as old as it is, has a couple of scars and scratches from its time and has never actually had the oval engraved, which is a sadness. Flat point checkering, long curved trigger tang on that very classic and of the era thin grip. Beautiful standard length tang with lovely scroll engraving up it. The action is in its original black. As you can see across the course of it, you have the same ornate engraving, very ornate engraving. Same goes on the hammer, and the block is plain, which surprised me a little bit, but not massively, given you're going to see that's where most of your wear is going to go. You also see you have on the feed ramp there, feed ramp if you'd like to call it that, no engraving as well, so it's designed for a little bit of wear. Again, scroll engraving across the covering here, and you have a slight notch in the back of the action there. And actually, as you mount the gun up, the sight sits beautifully between the V, and that little notch actually just allows you to feel like you're in line. It has absolutely no bearing to do with the sights, but it just allows you to feel like you're in line. The sight on the back is an express flip up. You have 100 and 200 yards, slightly less optimistic than the military version, and a small bead sight at the front, but the same fantastic rifling. The sling sword is actually soldered onto the front of the barrel there, and the forend on this is detachable via this little catch. However, like most of them, it's on there nice and tight. Interesting safety catch design in that you can pull this back, and then this actually slides in at half cock. So you just pull it back, and you actually lock your gun as safe, load your gun, close your gun, push that out, cock it back, and you're ready to go. Bang. What's interesting about this one is the lock plates are actually stamped John Dixon and Son. Take from that what you will, it's just interesting. The real interesting thing is when you actually put these things side by side. The first thing that's worthy of note is the hammers are actually on opposite sides. The second is this has a safety, and this does not. And more importantly, it really goes to show that even though these two guns are identical in pattern, what a little bit of refinement can do for a gun. From the lever on the bottom there, and how this one is just thicker and chunkier, this one is more refined, to the action, although the dimensions are pretty much near as damn it, how refined that lock is by comparison. What's interesting here, if you look action to action, although the dimensions are near as damn, it's only a few mil bigger, how beautiful this looks by comparison to that. And then if you take that into account on the lock plate as well, how lumpy this lock plate is versus this lock plate, and the same with the hammer. Not to say this probably was built, obviously, for service use. It needs to be bigger, stronger, take less effort, and if there is faults in the metal, bigger means stronger. So, well, like all service rifles, they're not quite as delicious as sporting rifles. The same also goes for the stock, but that obviously goes without saying. Anyway, that was a yummy piece of Scottish history for you, and a good bit of world history. Scottish, British, Australian, worldwide history. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Take care. Goodbye. We'll see you next time. It's been brilliant.